Hi everyone, welcome to the first 2021 webinar of Noé. We'll have the webinar in English today because we have a very special guest. That's Marty Cagan. Hi Marty.
Hi.
As we expected, because of Marty's presence, we had a great success for this webinar. You were more than 750 registrants, so welcome. Thank you very much for being here. I'll quickly introduce Marty and myself. So Marty Cagan is the founder of the Silicon Valley Product Group. He was an executive responsible for defining and building products for some of the most successful companies in the world, including HP, Netscape, and eBay. He's also the author of Inspired, which is kind of the Bible of product managers. We offer it to all Noé students as a welcome gift. And his new book, Empowered, focuses on product leaders to help them understand how to foster a good product team. I'm Maya. I created Noé with my two co-founders, Nino and Jules. Noé is a 4-week training program to launch your PM career. And before I created Noé, I was the VP of product at Aircall. So this webinar today will be a Q&A session for Marty. We received many questions in the past days, so we had to prioritize. We selected questions on 4 themes. So first, choosing your first PM job. Second, kind of your first steps as a product manager. Then product culture. And lastly, product manager, the role itself. If we have time, we'll pick questions in the questions tab, so feel free to ask them as we go in the webinar. As usual, we'll keep it short, so it's going to be about 30 minutes. I'll start with the first question for you, Marty. Many of our students are about to become product managers. And I guess to start, the first question would be, what should a future product manager pay attention to during the hiring process for their first PM job?
Yeah, good and important question. And really one of the most important decisions for a new product manager on their career. The most important thing that I encourage new product managers to do is not worry so much about what company they work for. Don't worry if it's a consumer company or a B2B company, don't worry, but do worry about who you will work for. So the most important thing is who will be your manager. And what you're looking for is really 2 things. First of all, you're looking to make sure that that person knows how good product is done. And I want to be clear, that's the hardest part, because most leaders, and I'm not speaking to France here, I'm speaking to the world. This is true even in Silicon Valley, which has been doing this is probably longer than anyone. Many of the managers have never actually worked at a good product company. And so they really don't know what it's like and what good looks like. So the first thing, now you can learn a lot from LinkedIn. So you should check out who her hiring manager is. And you should check out their experience, their background. If they've worked for a good product company, then that's what you're looking for. Now, when you interview them, the second thing you're looking for is, are they willing to coach and develop you, to spend the time and effort to develop you? Some managers will say, some very good managers, in fact, will say, the problem is we are so busy, I have no time to coach. We need somebody that already knows how to work this way, how to work, which is okay. It's good you know that now. But what you're looking for is somebody who is willing and able to give you the coaching you need. Realistically, that's usually for 1 to 2 years of very intense coaching, a minimum of once a week. A one-on-one for an hour to help you get better at your job. Because this is really how people learn to do product well. You can learn the theory, you can go to read books, you can go to classes, but you don't really learn product until you do it. And most people learn it bad. They They learn bad habits, not good habits, because they don't work for somebody who knows how to help. And this is going to be the hardest part, because you want to make sure you find a company that actually does care about good products and has the leaders that can provide the coaching you need. So it is not easy. And honestly, France does not have a long history of these kinds of leaders. I actually know many good leaders from France, but they've moved to the US. They've moved to the UK because they don't feel like they can often do what they need to do in a sort of classic older French company.
That's super interesting. Well, I guess the number one tip people will probably remember is to focus on your manager. So you already kind of answered the next question we wanted to ask you, but still, I think it's interesting to ask you more directly. Well, this question comes up a lot to people who talk to us about becoming a PM. And basically, they wonder about the type of role they should take over. Should they prioritize more a first product manager role in an early stage startup with no previous product manager, so basically reporting to the CEO? Or second option, should they aim to become a PM in a more structured product team in a bigger company, in a scale-up? Well, based on your previous answer, maybe you'll answer the second part. Do you have a recommendation about that, or do you think it's more a matter of personal preference?
Well, I think this is a different question. It's another good question. And I have very strong opinions on this for when I know the person. But here's the thing. It really depends on the person's goals. For example, if they hope to one day start their own company, and many product people want to eventually be a founder of a company, then it is so much more valuable to be at an early startup. So much more. But it's also so much more work. At an early stage startup, when you're often one of the very first product people, you do everything and you learn everything, but you do everything. So, I know a lot of people like work-life balance. Don't do the startup if that's what you want. That would be a mistake. Go to a more mature company where you have much more help to do the work that you'd need to do. So that is a really important decision, clearly, on what you want to do. Now, it's also true that it's very unlikely that a small startup will want a new product manager that doesn't already know how to do product well. That would be a very unusual situation. And it's also a dangerous situation, because what's probably going on is the founder is the product person, but the founder doesn't want to do all the little stuff. Like, they don't want to deal with Jira. They don't want to spend all this time with engineers every day. So what they really want to do is hire a project manager. And that's not a good job. If you're trying to get a career in product management, that is not a good choice. So more likely, if it's a first product manager job, then you'll go to a company that has more established teams. It doesn't mean a big company. It could be as small as 30 or 40 engineer company, so it could be a smaller or a growth stage company, but it's unlikely to be an early stage startup.
That's interesting. So I guess if you're going to an early stage startup, or if you're interviewing for them, you should really try and clarify what product means for the CEO, for the founders in general. That's
exactly right.
Okay, great. Thank you. We've also received many questions about, the next step, which is the first months, the first year, maybe as a product manager. I guess we were wondering, you've been involved with many startups, either as a product manager, product leader, a mentor. With this experience, what are, in your opinion, the top 3 habits that people should adopt as new product managers?
Sure. Well, there are 3 core responsibilities for every product manager, really, and this applies no matter how far you go in your career. And if you join a company that has a good manager that you're working for that is committed to coaching you, then they will almost certainly help you on these 3. But the first one is you have to build the habit of talking to users and customers directly every single week. This is, in fact, your goal is to become one of the experts at your company on your users and customers. So that is not superficial. That is an ongoing thing, and you really have to know who your users and customers are. So that's number 1. Number 2 is you need to learn more and more about your business. You're always learning more about your business. You need to learn how sales works. You need to learn how the marketing organization works, how finance works, how, for example, what are the costs involved in your product? What's the revenue side of your product? You have to learn things like legal constraints in your business, security, privacy considerations around your business, ethical constraints around your business. So you need to become as much of an expert on all the different parts of your business as possible, because this is going to be critical for your future as a product leader. And the third area is really technology. You have to build the habit. And of course, I strongly encourage every product manager to take a class in a programming language if they haven't already. They should learn how to program. That doesn't mean they should become a developer. I'm not saying that, but they should learn the language of technology. And this means a lifetime learning habit of following relevant technologies, learning what they're good for, what they're not good for, having very good relationships with your engineers, and being able to understand, here's a new technology, let's figure out if this can help us or not. So really learning deep about building habits about interacting with your customers, habits about learning more and more about your business, and habits around working with your engineers on the enabling technology. That's really the foundation of good product people.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's funny you mentioned the programming part. I think talking to many French product leaders, there's kind of this consensus that it's not a requirement to know how really to program, how to code, but it's important to know about the different languages, to understand the architecture of your product, the technical architecture. So do you think really knowing how to code is a requirement? Is it maybe a difference between Silicon Valley and France? What do you think?
Well, I do think you should take at least one programming language course. Now, most computer scientists will tell you that will not make you a great programmer, but it's different. It's like me talking to you about an amazing bottle of Bordeaux. If I talk to you about it, what does that mean? But when you actually drink it, you start to understand what we're talking about. So it's not enough to know, oh, there's a language called Python and this is what it's good for. You really have to have tasted Python. So I would argue that's more important. Realize we are talking about technology-powered products. We're not talking about being a product manager for a new type of soap or bottled water. We are talking about technology products. So the technology is extremely important. And you will learn so much from a programming language that you didn't even know there was to learn.
Okay, that's interesting. And thank you for adapting your examples to your audience, talking to us about wine. I guess that's pretty accurate. Many new product managers struggle when they join their new company and feel like the culture is more sales-driven or ops-driven than product-driven. I've been asked this question countless times, and I think it deserves a solid 2 hours to answer it in an exhaustive way. However, do you have maybe just a couple of actionable tips to at least kickstart that switch to a product-driven culture?
Yes, but a big caveat here. And the truth is, it's very hard for a product manager to start changing a culture. It's not impossible, but it's very unlikely. The changes that are necessary have to come from much farther above. It usually has to come from the CEO, at least from the head of product. So an individual contributor product manager can start modeling good behaviors and doing good techniques, but most of what they'll need to do, they won't be allowed to do. So really what we're talking, if I was able to rephrase the question, what can a company do to kickstart a real product culture, also known as a customer-driven culture, then there's more. So first of all, what we're looking for, and by the way, the same answer, if you're looking to join a company as a new product manager, these same questions you can use to decide whether or not it's a real product company, whether or not they are trying to be a great product company, or if they have no idea and will probably not succeed. So the first one you want to look at is, how do they think of technology? Do they think of it as a cost center? Do they think of it as IT? Do they think of it, is it run by a CIO? These are all very bad signs that they do not understand the necessary role of technology. So you look for that. If technology is at the foundation of what they do, then that's good. Do they view technology as a cost center, or do they view it as the core business? You're looking for people that understand it is underneath everything, no matter what kind of business they are. All right, so that's the first thing we look at. The second thing you look at is, do they have leaders that are serious product leaders? And in particular, two key leaders: the head of product management, or chief product officer, vice president product, whatever you want to call it. And the other is chief technology officer, head of engineering. Those two roles, you can tell the most about a company by looking at the people in those two roles. If they are serious, experienced product leaders that have worked in good product companies, that is very likely a good company to join. If not, it's going to be hard. And then the third thing you're looking at is really, does this company actually empower their product teams, or do they just give them a roadmap of features to build? So you can ask when you interview, how do you decide what we work on? How does that decided? Who decides? And how is work given to our team? Is it given on, we have a date, we have a feature that needs to get out? That's a typical roadmap. Or are we given problems to solve and allowed to figure out the best way to solve it? Unless they're actually empowering you with a problem to solve, they might say they let teams do product discovery, but they really don't. If you're given a roadmap of features, there's no product discovery involved. That's just design and code. So, and that's where the product manager is almost certainly just a project manager again.
Okay, great. Well, we've been talking about this product culture, and earlier you were very direct and frank about the level of the French product leaders. Well, I think that we're definitely behind you guys. There's no doubt. I do think that it's changing, and I see a lot of positive evolution about the role, the perception of the role, etc. I guess that's also the next question for you. What evolution have you seen recently in the PM role, and what evolution do you see coming soon?
Yeah, well, whenever I talk about the evolution of the role, there's really two parts to that. One is the responsibilities of that person, and the other is how they do their job, the techniques. So the responsibilities, to be honest, have not changed in about 25 years. And I don't see those responsibilities changing in the next 25 years. Who knows? What could all be different, but I don't see it. The responsibility, somebody has to worry about matching real customer problems with solutions that customers love, but also work for the business. That doesn't go away. However, the techniques have changed radically. The techniques have changed, and they continue to change. So the way a good product team does that, the way they do product discovery, the way they come up with a solution that's valuable, usable, feasible, and viable is constantly getting better. The tools are getting better. The techniques are getting better. Our designers are getting better tools. Our engineers are getting better tools. So a good product team can innovate better and faster than they ever have before. And you see that at companies like Amazon, like Netflix, like Spotify. You see that happening. So I don't see the responsibilities changing, but I do see the techniques changing. Now, it is also true that one trend has been this confusion between a product owner and a product manager. That didn't used to be a problem. As Agile has grown, that has become a bigger problem. So I'm not sure what will happen there. I hope people will realize that one is a role and the other is a job. The other trend I'm very worried about, and I'm not worried about this in good companies at all, but I am worried about this in big, older companies. And I have spent a lot of time with bigger, older companies in France and in a lot of Europe. And I have always seen that a lot of those old leaders are not comfortable with Agile. They're not comfortable with innovation. And so there is a process called SAFe. You might have heard of it, Scaled Agile Framework. Just because I know you work with a lot of new product managers, the simplest advice I can give anybody is if you want to do product management at all, don't go to a company that uses that process. You can't do it. It's not they might call the roles product owner, product managers, but it is not Agile at all. It is not innovative at all. It's basically just the old way it was done many years ago. It's just waterfall with a new marketing. So I am worried about that because that process appeals to people who hate the new world. And so, if you're working in a company like that, the best thing I'd suggest is try to find a job at a company that understands why that's bad.
Interesting. That's a lot of talking about, the PO versus PM terminologies. That's super interesting. I see that time is running out. We have one last question for you to kind of wrap up all of this. And I guess that would be, what is maybe the number one thing new product managers should know? Well, you think they should know, but they don't.
It's hard to say the number one thing. I would actually say the number one thing is to know what you can't know. Mm-hmm. I'd say the number one problem product managers make is they think they know the answer to something. They think that they're right. They think that because they love this product idea, the customers are going to love this product idea. And the truth is, good product people learn that they can't know. There are things they can't know. They can't know if customers are going to love it. They can't know if it's going to turn out to be easy or hard to build. And because they know they can't know it, then they're much more open to figuring it out. The danger comes with the arrogance that comes from thinking that you know. So I remember that it took me a while to learn that lesson, but it was probably one of the most valuable things I ever learned is there are things you can't know. In most important things you can't know. The other corollary to that is to get comfortable admitting what you don't know.
Super interesting. Well, I guess the last word is we have to stay humble then.
Right.
Great. Thank you so much. Before we end this webinar, just wanted to take a minute to talk about Noe and about Empowered. So Noe, for those of you who don't know us, is a 4 weeks program to launch your PM career. So it's basically your first month as a PM. We have 5 sponsors from the top tech companies in the French ecosystem. Alan, Get Around, Stewart, Malt, Doctolib. They bring us real problems that they're facing in their companies. And so during Noe, you'll work for one of our sponsors for 4 weeks and then present your work to them at the end of the program. If you want to learn more, visit noe.pm. Well, to end this webinar, many thanks to Marty for your time today. It's been really an honor to have you as a guest. I encourage you all to buy Empowered, which I'm reading right now, and I'm sure will become the next product Bible for product leaders. Thanks everyone for joining us today. Have a great night. See you soon for the next Noe webinar. And thank you, Marty, for your time.
Thank you very much for having me. Good luck.
Bye.